All right. Hello and welcome everyone to the Bear Down podcast. My name is Rowan and I'll be your host for the evening or the morning or the afternoon, however you may be watching this. So yesterday we just finished up the 2025 Bears NFL draft. Finally, I feel like this day it's been so long. Hours of sitting there reviewing tape, looking at mock drafts. There's always speculation. But we're done. We're finally done. It's now officially the start of the new year. Of course, the free agency and everything, and feeling pretty good where the Bears are going to be at sitting in the 2025-2026 season. So yeah, let's get straight into it. Premise, I am by no means an expert of the draft. I am just a fan of the team and enjoy watching the players play and enjoy watching the team win. So hopefully there'll be a lot more of that. Getting straight into it, the Bears had a number of picks. I think we started with 7 picks overall. We had 1 first, 2 seconds, a third, a fifth, and 2 sevenths. We ended up tallying that down to, I believe it was still 7 picks overall. We did have some trade backs, specifically with the Bills a lot. I guess that's a thing we do now. But yeah, getting straight into it. With the 10th overall pick, the Chicago Bears selected Colston Loveland, a tight end out of Michigan. I'm going to be honest. When I first saw this pick, I said, oh no, why did we draft a tight end? And then the tape played and I instantly said, oh boy, we got ourselves a weapon. And that's essentially what it is. I was always not a fan of drafting a tight end. I like what we have with Cole Kmet there at our current inline tight end position. And I was not a fan of Tyler Warren. I don't see what's going on there, but I'm quite the fan of Colston Loveland now at this point. Just throwing on some tape as the first round was finishing up. He's a weapon. That's the best way to put it. He's a guy that you can put out on that field and he's going to catch a pass no matter what. Luckily, we have a really accurate quarterback, so it's not like the Michigan days, especially with J.J. McCarthy. But he is essentially a weapon. That's what it really comes down to. He has very strong hands. I think I saw a report saying that he grew up in Idaho and working on wire fence and branding cattle that's how he grew up. So he's a farmer's boy. He's got the strong hands and he'll be able to reel in pretty much any throw that comes to him. I did see some reports that he struggled with some drops last season, some concentration drops, kind of getting overpressurized in the moment and dropped the football. That's more something. I could see that being the case with him, of that being a spur of the moment thing with, especially with the quarterback troubles that Michigan had last year, and he was kind of the focal point of the offense. Being on the Bears, I think that's going to calm down a little bit because there's so many other different weapons. I do fully expect Colston Loveland and Cole Kmet to share the field a lot in that 12 personnel position. For if you guys may not know, 12 personnel is essentially 2 tight ends, 1 running back. So 21 personnel would be 2 running backs, 1 tight end. The 2 numbers, the first number is always going to be the running back, and the second number is always going to be the tight end. So I do expect us to see a lot of 12 personnel this season. That's something that Ben Johnson did use a lot in the Lions offense with Sam Laporta. And I honestly do see a lot of similarities with Colston Loveland and Sam Laporta, which is quite a good sign because Sam Laporta is pretty good at football. But yeah, Colston Loveland, he is a guy who can go up there and catch any ball. He's incredibly athletic. He's incredibly fast. His body type isn't really that, bruiser, put a shoulder down and run over some people, but he is more than capable of doing that, especially being 6'6", 257 or 248 might be his official weight at the combine. He is struggling with that shoulder injury, but all signs point to him being ready and healthy by training camp. I don't expect him, just based on Ben Johnson and Ryan Poles' comments in the presser, to be attending the minicamp physically. I think he'll be there and he'll be learning, as all rookies do. But yes, he is definitely going to be a type of guy that is put in place a lot, especially in the red zone, especially over that center, that middle of the field in that slot role. I have seen a good amount of his blocking tape as well. He is a willing and effort blocker. He struggles a little bit with keeping his hands up and in and making sure a person is blocked correctly. But I'm feeling quite excited about the pick that we got. and I think he will definitely be a weapon in Ben Johnson's offense. And I do expect Cole Kmet to be on the roster next year and the years following after that with Colston Loveland. All right, with the second round pick, number 39, the first of our second round picks, the Bears drafted wide receiver Luther Burden III out of Missouri. So when I first saw this pick, they showed on the broadcast, and we saw Randall sitting there celebrating with Ben Johnson and Ryan Poles, and I was like, oh my God, why are we drafting wide receiver? We don't need a wide receiver. We just drafted Colston Loveland. We just drafted Rome Odunze, and we have DJ Moore already. 3 very willing pass catchers on the offense. But why not add more, right? Luther Burden was a player that was just sitting there to be taken. He's a player that many people had going top 10 6 months ago before the start of the season. Obviously, he had a bit of a down year at Missouri last year. He played a lot more in the slot, and the target share wasn't exactly there for him, which happens. What I worry about with this pick is the too many mouths to feed idea. And I think a reporter asked Ben Johnson about that, and he said, it's part of the thing. It's here for the game. It's what we do. It'll be a challenge for us of getting that to happen. I feel very excited about the value that we got Luther Burden III at. I just question how we're going to fit in the offense. Given I was just talking about that 12 personnel, with the 12 personnel, you typically have 2 wide receivers on the field, which means in that situation, Luther Burden III would not be in the field, or DJ Moore, or Rome Odunze. I really just question how the fit is going to be like. I think Luther Burden III is a weapon and can be used in many different spots, whether that's screens or outside cuts or over the middle. I think he's an excellent slot player. I see a lot of DJ Moore, which was his official comp by the NFL, but also a lot of Amon-Ra St. Brown. So I think that Ben Johnson can unlock him and keep him engaged. He definitely does have a lot of that DJ Moore style-esque to him. He's a very powerful mover, and once you get the ball in his hands, it's incredible. I was watching his press conference. His official press conference with the Bears in person was a lot more better than the press conference online that he did over Zoom. I saw an excellent comment on that where someone said that the interview comp for him was also DJ Moore, just like his playing comp, because he didn't really seem like he wanted to answer that many questions. But things got better when he actually got to Chicago. I wonder if they gave him a little bit of media training as we went into. But honestly, I'm excited for a player like that. I'm looking forward to a player who, hey, let's go play football. I don't really care about talking to media. Let's go play football. And that's something I'm really excited for. I think Luther Burden III is going to fit in great as a wide receiver 3, especially this first year. I expect him to see the field a lot and get a lot of targets. I would anticipate him being somewhere around where Rome Odunze's target share and receiving yards was last year. And I expect both DJ Moore and Rome Odunze to have an increase of targets and such, just due to the offense of Ben Johnson rather than Thomas Brown and Shane Waldron that we dealt with last year. All right, so with the second of the second round picks, the Bears traded back. I think this one was with the Bills, if I remember correctly. And they traded back to number 56, and they drafted offensive tackle Ozzy Trapillo, I think I'm saying his name right, out of Boston College. This was definitely one I liked. I remember going through the upbringings, and I remember seeing a lot of news about this guy, Ozzy, the Ozzy Train, Ozzy Osbourne. I think that is a great, excellent name of a player, Ozzy, that we are going to have on the Bears next season. I was recently watching a podcast from Big Game Bangle. That's his Twitter handle, but his actually just goes by Bangle. And he said that this was actually one of his favorite players in the draft, outside of the first round of Will Campbell and Calvin Banks and Armand Membu and Josh Connolly. Josh Simmons, of course, those kind of top five tackles. He had Ozzy sitting pretty high after that. And I also have seen a lot of that going through the readings of the articles and such like that, where people seem to like them. Bleacher Report scouting staff actually ranked him as the most pro-ready right tackle that is actually on the board. So obviously this comes with, obviously the Bears have dealt with issues with the offensive line in the past, but it really seemed like that one right tackle position was the one going into this offseason that we felt very comfortable with. Clearly, we upgraded the interior of the offensive line, and Brian Poles has mentioned potential of upgrades at the left tackle position. Going through our offensive line coach, Dan Rocher and Ben Johnson and Ryan Poles have all said they're very happy with Braxton Jones and Kieran Amejeji. So I wonder where this pick really ins to that whole situation. I've seen some rumors flying around on Twitter where it's like, are we moving Darnell Wright to left tackle and we're putting Ozzy at right tackle? That is a potential. I am not really a fan of moving that. I feel like the right tackle position is something that is as important as the left tackle. Obviously, the blindside blocker. I mean, all the positions are as important as possible. I think that Darnell Wright is doing an amazing job, and he is prone as a breakout player. And I think he will break out this year, and he'll get a lot more national recognition. Why not keep him at right tackle? I think that's something that we shouldn't mess with, especially in a year where it seems like the media is expecting the Bears to go crazy. So I just wonder where he is going to fit in exactly. My current expectation, and I believe there will be some sort of left tackle competition during the training camp and the mini camp and the OTA timeline. I expect him to compete for that left tackle position, whether he gets it or not. I don't anticipate him earning the starting position, but there will be a three-way battle between those three players, and I fully expect Braxton Jones to win that battle. And in that case, Ozzy would then slot in as like a swing backup right tackle, backup left tackle. And of course, everyone knows of following a team or following the NFL, offensive linemen get hurt. That's part of the game. And whether it's a long-term injury, whether it's just a game, whether it's just a play or a quarter, people get hurt. And it's always good to have great backups in place. And I feel like he is a guy who can slot in pretty instantly and play well in a backup role. And if he needs to start in the case of an injury, I would feel rather comfortable with him either starting at right tackle or left tackle. He is an absolute behemoth of a man. I am not kidding. He is listed at 6'8". Wow. But that can be good, right? I don't see any issue with that. I do anticipate, though, with Braxton Jones leaving next year, potentially leaving, given that his contract is up, this could be a potential replacement at left tackle, if that is something that the Bears coaching staff feels confident in. And if not, I feel like he will be an excellent swing tackle and a weapon that we can use further on. Also, a reporter did ask him, obviously we saw in Detroit with Dan Skipper, Ben Johnson likes his tall tackles, and he likes to throw to them. Ozzy was apparently a tight end in high school. He said he was a more thinner built guy up until around junior year of high school, and he actually played tight end. He's catching a touchdown pass this year. I write that in and guarantee that he is catching a touchdown pass 100%. All right, and my mistake on that, we actually had one more second round pick. This one was at 62. I was thinking that the third round had started then. So for our third second round pick, that's kind of cool. We drafted Shamar Turner at number 62. He's a defensive tackle out of Texas A&M. This guy is he's a class act. I was very impressed with his energy and his enthusiasm during the interviews and just watching the call that Ryan Poles made to him. he's the type of guy that you want on your team. He really seems like he wants to be here and he wants to play and he's going to work hard. Everything that I've been seeing out of him is pretty impressive. I mean, he is that type of guy who people literally describe him as violent because he is. He's not afraid to move you and he's not afraid to get after it. And that's the type of guy that I think most defenses, especially the Chicago Bears, need on their roster. I do think Shamar Turner is a little bit raw compared to the other prospects. I think he is a great lower body build, and he's definitely got some power. I know his pass rush moves aren't quite where other defensive tackles or other defensive ends might be on the board, but that is something that he talked about in one of his pressers with meeting with Nick Scorton and having him teach him some moves, and I fully expect him to interact a lot with Montez Sweat, Grady Jarrett, Gervon Dexter, even Deo, just learning more of those pass rush moves and how to get to the quarterback better, because that is something that I do believe he could improve on. I also do see him playing a lot of that Deo role. Obviously, we saw in Indianapolis that Deo kind of played inside and outside, both as a D tackle and a defensive end. I fully expect him to be a defensive end in Dennis Allen's defense. And I honestly see a little bit of the same from Shamar Turner. I think there will be some roles where he is a slotted in a defensive tackle, a 3 tech, so just outside that left guard shoulder. But I fully expect him to also play a lot of defensive end. That is something he played back at Texas A&M in 2023. I believe it was either 6.5 or 8 sacks he had that season from the defensive end position. He is a more than capable. He's only listed at 290 pounds. I believe he's more than capable of running that defensive end position and setting a nice edge, both for run defense and also getting to the quarterback. Another thing I really like about Shamar Turner that I see a lot in him is that relentless style of play, and he can get aggressive and he can be that type of guy where the other teams hate playing him, both mentally and physically. He's a guy that you go home after and you have bruises all over your body, just from going into the trenches with him and dealing with him on a snap-by-snap basis. I believe it was Ryan Poles who said he anticipates there to be some fights at training camp and practice due to Shamar Turner's playing style, and I'm all for that. I believe that the Bears in the past have a little bit of a passive style of play on that defensive line, and I think Shamar Turner is someone that can bring in that energy and bring in that fight. Hopefully he won't be punching anyone in the balls, but I'm all for it. As long as we don't get a penalty, that's all I'm saying. All right, so here we are into the day 3 picks. This is something that I've seen overall across sports media, where they believe the Bears had a great first 3 rounds, and then they kind of fell off and took some shots that a lot of people aren't really a fan of. Me personally, I'm quite a fan. So we can get started here with round 4, pick 132. We have Ruben Hippolyte II. This is a guy that no one knows. He is not on any big boards. He is not on anything. He wasn't even invited to the Combine. I believe he was the first player drafted who is not a member of the Combine. But he's a dude. And this is someone that I have watched a lot over this last day, because I had no idea who he was before that. Maryland's defense was actually a pretty solid defense, and he was the middle linebacker in that situation. And I see a lot in him. So just going over, and when you look up who Ruben Hippolyte is, the first thing you see is that 4.2 40-yard dash speed. I mean, there's no getting around it. He is fast. He is a little bit undersized as a player. I believe he's around 6 foot 220. For a linebacker, that can be a little smaller, and you can see it on the field where he does appear to be a little bit smaller, but he does have very powerful legs, of course, with that 4.42 speed. He's fast, and I mean that's what it really comes down to. I believe he projects great to be an excellent special teams player. He will be able to get down that field fast and make good tackles. Something that I see a lot in Ruben Hippolyte's game is he is an excellent gap shooter. I saw a lot of run defense and late blitzes on that Maryland defense where he came through and he tackle the running back or the quarterback with a lot of assurance. And that's something that I could see him being very good at the NFL, is kind of hanging back and chilling and then going, or shooting an A gap right off the bat on a run play. Another thing I saw a lot in Ruben Hippolyte was that type of high intelligence play. I don't really see him as a player who is going to get in over his head. He really seems like he lets the play develop and he sees the field really well. That was a thing I saw a lot with that kind of laid back blitzing style where he wasn't right off the ball into it like a typical edge rusher or a blitzing linebacker, or he was kind of that spy and he found a great position to come in and sack the quarterback. He did that more than once in some of the Maryland clips that I watched. He's also surprisingly good in coverage. That's something that I saw a lot online, and when I went and looked at it for myself, it really comes down to that speed and that awareness that I've been talking about, and he can actually be a pretty solid coverage player. I actually wonder if they might use him a little bit at that strong safety position, or kind of like a deeper linebacker position. That's something that Ryan Poles discussed in his presser, where he has a lot of position flexibility, and I would not be surprised at all to see him line up with some safety in the 2025-2026 season. If I had to say one last thing about Ruben Hippolyte, it would be I was really impressed with his tackling style. I see a lot of these shorter, faster linebackers really just come in and lay down the boom on a running back and hit them as hard as they physically can, and that's where that kind of play jumps off the table with some people. But with Ruben, I saw a lot of smart and careful tackling. I mean, he definitely has the power to hit someone, but there's always a danger when you come in and do that. Obviously, it's a statement type play, but he really just comes in, he gets under his body, and he brings him down. And it's a very sure style of tackling that I feel like is going to translate over pretty well to the NFL. All right, with our actual pick, not a trade down pick, the Bears at pick 148 in the 5th round drafted Zay Frazier, cornerback out of UTSA. His name is actually Zay, not Za. He said that in our interview. Zay's that type of long, fast, but relatively skinny type of cornerback. I don't have this on record, and I don't know this for sure, but I do believe he used to be a wide receiver. I saw some reports that were like, he's 6'3", he runs a 4.36. Why isn't he a wide receiver? And a lot of that comes down to, actually, I have no idea. I think he could totally be a solid wide receiver. There's probably a reason he might like corner, but definitely that body style fits that. And with that retriever type body style and play type, he is an excellent ball hawk. He had 6 interceptions, I believe I read correctly, in that last season with UTSA. He's an excellent ball hawk, and especially down the field, I saw a lot of clips where he's following a receiver deep down the field, and he can, of course, stay with them due to that 4.36 speed, and he just goes up, he sees ball, get ball. That's what it really all comes down to, and that's an excellent player that I could see fitting in great with Dennis Allen's defense. I do believe Al Harris, our new DB's coach coming over from the Cowboys, did approve this pick, if I remember correctly, out of Ryan Poles' presser. He talked about it was a player that he type of liked, and I honestly see a lot of his kind of style coming over from the Cowboys defense in that situation. He is a longer type press corner. I think he'll fit in great. Where do I see him fitting in, though? Obviously, I don't expect him. He's not going to start over Jalen Johnson. Jalen Johnson's our lockdown corner. There's a lot of speculation with Tyreek Stevenson where he fits in. Obviously, he's a great run defender, but he has struggled a little bit in the past season. He had an excellent rookie season. I do still expect him to have a starting role. I do expect him to really sit in that corner 3 or corner 4 position. Obviously, Kyler Gordon is a slot. I'm not considering him in this scenario. And obviously, we saw a lot of great things out of Elijah Hicks and Terrell Smith last year in the defensive back roles. And I do anticipate him to be around that cornerback 3 or cornerback 4 position. And I believe he can make a difference on the field, whether that's coming in when people are hurt or people get tired. Whether that is, I think he will have at least 1, maybe not 2 interceptions throughout the field and be an overall great special teams player. I believe he actually started his career at college playing a lot of special teams, and that's the thing he was asked in his presser. So I feel confident that he'll fit in great with Richard Hightower at the beginning and eventually move more into a cornerback 3 role with the Bears, perhaps towards the end of the season into next season. All right, and so then one of our trade back / trade up, because in that one trade, the multiple trades with the Bears, obviously we moved back, but then we moved up. We have a 6th-round pick, pick number 195, Luke Newman, an offensive guard out of Michigan State. I knew nothing about this guy. This was another guy that I had never heard of in my life. And so I said, who? When the pick came against the screen. I think they were still talking about Shedeur Sanders at the moment, so they didn't really ever talk about him. So I had to go in and watch some of my own tape, and he's a excellent player, especially for a pick 195. He is definitely a guard. He is not going to be playing tackle for us. He even could play a little bit of center. I've seen that, I guess, the Senior Bowl. I believe it was that, or the Shrine Bowl, one of the bowls. The coaches there did push him towards center a little bit more and getting some reps at center. I do expect him to play a backup left guard, backup right guard, backup center type of role, kind of a swing interior offensive lineman, which is definitely something that we need, given that we only really have Doug Kramer, Ryan Bates, Bill Murray, and those kind of roles, which are okay players, but not really something that I want to see on the team long term. Something I did see surrounding Luke Newman in some of the tape was the Michigan State team did play Michigan this year. Of course, Michigan had an excellent defensive line with Josiah Seward off the edge, and then, of course, Mason Graham and Kenneth Grant, 2 players drafted in the first round. Mason Graham being drafted in the top 10, top 5 actually. And it really appeared that Luke Newman held up great. There's an excellent rep that he has against Mason Graham where he takes Mason Graham straight out of the play. There's another goal line stand against Kenneth Grant where he absolutely pile drives him into the ground, and the RB of Michigan State, I don't remember his name, scores an easy touchdown because of it. So this is definitely someone that could come in and make a difference. I wouldn't say right away. I see him as more of a developmental guard that will see some playing time, of course, with the offensive line injuries and just fatigue throughout the year. But I do fully expect him to be a very sound guard who does not make a lot of mistakes, and someone that could be an excellent backup and learn behind Joe Tooney and Jonah Jackson and Drew Dalmond, and maybe potentially come in and play some meaningful snaps for the Bears. And finally, we have our final pick that the Bears took. This was in round 7, pick 233. This was from the Khalil Herbert trade. And of course, it's only fitting that the Bears finally drafted a running back. Just to get really into the running back discussion, obviously there was a lot of guys that were good in this draft. This was a very deep running back class. And looking back, there was definitely a lot of guys that I really was hoping the Bears were going to get, whether that was Ashton Jeanty. I was never really a fan of Omarion Hampton. I was a big fan of Quinshon Judkins and Caleb Johnson. I was not too much of a fan of Travion Henderson as well. So those 3 guys straight out the board, the 2 of them at the top of the second round. Of course, Ashton Jeanty went 6th overall to the Raiders. And then Brashard Smith as well. I was very unfortunate that he went just a few picks before us to the Kansas City Chiefs. He was a guy I was really excited for and hoping the Bears were going to get. But overall, I'm pretty happy with the running back that we got out of this class, and I feel like it was a great value for the position, and considering it is a 7th round pick, and I'm feeling happy about the fact that we did not trade future assets or other assets for the running backs like Ashton Jeanty if we had to trade up. But yes, with the 7th round pick, pick 233, like I said, from the Khalil Herbert trade from Cincinnati, the Bears selected Kyle Monangai, a running back out of Rutgers. I remember watching him, was it 2 years ago? When they were playing, I think it was Ohio State, and they ran that trick where the center snaps to the quarterback, and they were going to act like they were going to tush push it, and the quarterback snapped to the running back, Kyle Monangai, and he took off, and it was like a 47-yard run or something like that. And I remember watching that time like, wow, that's a nice running back right there. And full circle, 2 years later, He's on the Bears. This is, in my opinion, an excellent pick for the Bears. I fully expect, come training camp season, there will be a lot of hype for seeing Kyle Monangai as RB1 this season. I don't anticipate him being RB1. He is a great matchup with DeAndre Swift and or Ian Wheeler, if we see a lot of Ian Wheeler's playtime this season, of that kind of knuckles type from David Montgomery. I've seen a lot of comps for David Montgomery, that kind of powerful running style. He is a bruiser. He will lay down the law, and he is essentially just a bigger David Montgomery. And I love that for the Bears. That's something that we need. Roschon Johnson is obviously a huge back, but I don't really see him playing with a lot of power. And Roschon Johnson does definitely struggle in some pass blocking. Other than that, we have Travis Homer as an excellent pass blocker for a running back. But Kyle Monangai, I don't know if you've seen the clips. Just go watch. Just look up his pass blocking reps. He will lay down a shoulder and send a linebacker flying. It is genuinely impressive. And something I saw during his presser was he really emphasizes that type of blocking style where he believes protecting the quarterback is the top priority. And if you don't protect the quarterback, you don't get the ball. It's that Ben Johnson, no block, no rock type of style. Kyle Monangai, of course, is a very sure runner as well. He runs with a lot of power, and he kind of has that weird type of running style that I really like, where he looks like he's just out there running. Like, he's not a very technical runner where you pick up your knees and you run super hard. He's just like, see end zone, get end zone. Kind of like that see ball, get ball style. He also doesn't fumble. Was it 600 and... Sorry, I have some stats here. Yeah, 669 rushes since 2021 at Rutgers. He did not have a single fumble, which is a record for the most amount of rushes, consecutive rushes without a fumble. And that's something that's excellent. We didn't really struggle that much with fumbles on offense last year. I know Rome Odunze had a few, Caleb Williams had a few, and Doug Kramer had that one pretty big one. But I really see Kyle Monangai as an excellent goal line back, backing up that DeAndre Swift style runner with that kind of Sonic and Knuckles style that we see a lot in the Lions offense. Overall, I'm very happy with the running back that we ended up getting out of this draft. As we got further in the draft, I was like, oh, let's get this guy. Oh, let's get this guy. Just give me someone. And I really hadn't watched a lot of Kyle Monangai tape leading up to the draft because I wasn't thinking that we would be looking for a running back in the 7th round. I was more expecting a first round type guy. But overall, the fit here seems great. I don't expect he was the first option for the Bears. I hadn't really seen him that much connected to him in the pre-draft process. And I hope that he gets a spot in training camp and he can prove his worth. And I fully expect him to be RB2, if not taking over some carries from DeAndre Swift throughout the season. I would not be surprised at all. All in all, it was a very solid draft. I would give this draft a solid A- for the Bears. I am very pleased about the patience that Ryan Poles had here in this draft. He did not trade up at all, and we actually end up trading back a lot and getting some solid players, including a 4th round pick next year, which is very important. Obviously, we did not really grab one of those like top guys, Abdul Carter or Ashton Genty. I know there was some predictions that the Bears go to attempt to trade up for one of those two players. And I'm in the moment, yes, I would have loved that. And after the fact, I would have loved that. But looking back after the fact, I'm pretty happy that something like that wasn't entertained. I think the value was going to be way too high. And with the players that we had, we ended up trading back a lot and receiving a lot of quality players for us. I am a little surprised about one small thing, though. I did not expect the Bears to not draft a safety. I was a little shocked about that. They ended up doing a lot of work on safeties, whether that was Jordan Hancock or Andrew Makuba. They did a lot of safeties during that pre-draft process, and we ended up coming away with not a single safety from the draft picks. We did sign, I don't know off the top of my head their exact names, but I know there was 2 undrafted safeties that were taken, one out of Oregon, and then one's name was Major Burns, which is an excellent name, but at the same time a horrible name for a defensive back. Who knows if they'll get playing time, if not at all, if they even make the team. But I am still a little shocked that there was not a single safety drafted at all, given our safety situation with Kevin Byard getting on the older side and him being an expiring contract. I do expect him to extend him for one more year sometime throughout the season. And then, of course, Jaquan Brisker, who is an excellent safety, but of course has that injury history. I do expect him to play very well this season and prove his worth, but you never know with that type of thing. But yeah, overall, very happy with the draft, very happy with the players that we came out of, and looking forward to rookie minicap and seeing what other type of undrafted gems we could have grabbed. And of course, looking forward to the season and training camp started. But yeah, if you liked the video, feel free to drop a like down below and subscribe. This is a new channel that I'm relatively trying to get into. I've always been told I have some intriguing thoughts about the NFL and especially the Bears, and trying to start see something new where I can come from. I do expect myself to make some future videos, not as much as a long form content like this, maybe around a 10 to 12 minute video about some of our later round prospects that you guys might not know as well, and just watch some film and really come away with my conclusions on those type of players. So be on the lookout for those. Stay frosty.